Here is on. All right, we're set. So happy New Year. Welcome. Today's topic is the web interface. And this should go pretty fast. It won't be as long as some of the past ones. Uh, as always, Ken is on the call too for the Q&A as well as adding more flavor to the content that I share. We have some immediate questions already. So we have an active group. So first of all, the YouTube channel for recordings, yes, we record everything. And go to the next slide. Happy New Year, web interface. YouTube.com/C/Blue Iris support. And also, we're getting a stronger presence on YouTube. So the searches are, if you just go to YouTube and do Blue Iris support, it'll come up now. Like before, a whole bunch of other stuff would come up. And now I guess you guys are appreciating the content as well as it's more and more people following our channel. So anyways, Blue Wire support is an easy search on YouTube to get to the content, the recordings. As always, participants will be muted. We are recording and the presentation will be available later today. And as always, we always lead with software. So, the easiest way, if you're new and you just want to figure out if Blue Iris is right for you guys, just go to the website and download it, and you get a 15-day trial. We lead with product, and so that you can confirm for yourself whether Blue Iris can meet your business requirements or your home requirements. Okay, so the web interface. So let's get at it. So some simple stuff, like I get a lot of tickets on, you guys will save the passwords, and then how do you reset it? So let me just do some simple stuff to start the conversation. Let me go to my browser. Let me reconnect. Okay, as you see, it just automatically logs in. For some reason, you want to change that password. So all you have to do is log out. And now you can just turn it off, and then you can change it. And then if Chrome still remembers it, there's also one other setting in the main where you can go to UI settings, general, forget saved credentials. So this will force whichever browser you use to forget what was stored. So that's easy stuff that oftentimes is like, how do I reset my password kind of stuff. So that's that. The way I'm gonna do this is I'm gonna go through this presentation because there's a lot of little tips and tricks I'm gonna go through for the interface, and this helps me remember all the stuff, because there's a lot of good stuff in the web interface. I'm pleasantly surprised, and I hope you guys get excited about it too. So let me start with just I'm gonna digest this slide piece by piece with just the user interface. First of all, like the menus on the right, the context menus. So let me start with that, and then I'll get into networking troubleshooting, because that's a nice little golden nugget that I discovered in preparing for today's presentation. Okay, so I'm going to close this tab. I'm going to go back to, I'm in the wrong browser. All right, so the web interface. So when you log in, if you're not familiar with it, this is how it starts. You come in with the name of your location. Like I name my area Mayberry Square, like whatever you named your site in Blue Iris. And then you got two tabs, the live view and the clips view. And so just this is the way I think about it. I mean, everybody has their own mental model. When I think of live view, I think of like you're at your desk and you're looking at the cameras and you want to see what's going on right now, and maybe change settings based off of like right now and moving forward. And then clips is all about like, you have all those recordings going back and maybe like discovering an incident, trying to like discover like if something bad happened, the details of that incident. So that's mentally what I think of when I think about these two tabs, live view versus clips. And so let me start with live view. So if you click on the camera, you can get the PTZ goes active right away. And unfortunately, I'm connected to an NVR, so I don't have PTZ control, so I can't demo that part. But assuming that you got it correctly configured in your Blue Iris, those controls would be available in the web interface as well. The other thing I want to point out is the stuff with profiles and schedules. So this is, it's a one-to-one mapping pretty much from these settings to, let me go to my Blue Iris, to the stuff up top. And so it can be a little bit confusing. So like the way I think about it is I get a lot of questions on the shield. And the shield is kind of like, like the alarm systems like ADT, like when you leave your garage and you enable the system, and then when you come back, you disable it. So that's the metaphor for the shield. So like you can control like what exactly turns on and off for your cameras. But that's basically the idea, the concept, and that exists in the web interface as well. So if you want to turn off, actually the shield isn't there. I'm sorry, like you can't go inactive and active. I'm just reviewing that so conceptually understand that. But the other part, like why is there a player here? So this is about, the metaphor here is with the like your thermostat. Like oftentimes you'll have have like presets, like at nighttime you want it at 70 degrees, and maybe it's like a hot day and you want to lower it to 68 temporarily. That's basically the idea here. So like this is like the normal profile that's running for this schedule, active. Temporarily, if I want to switch it to something else for whatever reason, it pauses, and it stays paused for how long, and that's based off of your settings. I'm kind of reviewing some of the Blue Iris stuff because once you have a good understanding of it in Blue Iris, the corresponding controls in the web interface becomes intuitive. So how long does that pause last for? It's based off of your profile temp time, 480 minutes, which is what, 8 hours. And then if you want to keep it and hold it, like, you want to keep your thermostat at 68 for the rest of the night, you can just hold it down and now it's locked until you change it again. Okay. So I want to just review that just to make sure that you guys understand that mentally. And then, once you understand those metaphors, like thermostat versus ADT, active and inactive, then it's probably easy to remember what these things do. And so in terms of the web interface, it's the same idea here. So like, like active is right now it's during the day. And so I would have active away. If I push this to like 3 and the web interface will tell you the profiles change at night. And if I go back to Blue Iris, that's exactly what happened. It switched to night and it's on temporary. Okay. So that's what this stuff is about. So it's really about like, you're looking at cameras right now and you want to like change the behavior of the cameras, like right now, like current time. That's what the live view is all about. And to go back, these are kind of cool. So this icon is saying it's temporary, like it's pause. And if I click it, I'm running the schedule back, like the day-night schedule. It popped back to 1. And that's basically the same as hitting this icon to play. So like when you're running your schedule, it's going to be based off of what your schedule is. And right now I have a whole bunch of schedules from my last demo, but I'm running day-night schedule. And I don't want to go into the details of scheduling and profiles, but once I hit play again, it goes back to the schedule. And then at this time, which is during the day, the profile that should be running is active. And that's exactly what Blue Iris did. And you have access to that from the web interface. And we'll, if you have questions about that, we can definitely jump into that after I finish going through all of this. Schedule you can change as well. So, you know, like day and night is what I usually set it at. But if you want some special schedule that you have, that's fine. You can do that. Groups, I have different, I only have one group, so I can't really show the differences. But basically, you know, it's fairly intuitive. Like if you have multiple groups, the cameras that show on the main screen is based off of the groups associated, the cameras associated with that group. Streaming is kind of cool, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. So I'm going to hold off on that concept. On the top right are just like, you know, shortcut buttons, kind of like, you know, so like if you want to go to your clips, your recordings, you can. It'll pop right into it. If you want to go to your alerts, you can. Snapshot, you know, if you want, just push, you know, just play with it. So it gives you an image and it downloads it onto your machine. So you saw my browser that the image popped in here. And if I can open it up, let me bring it over to my main screen. So you got an image of what you were currently looking at. Just easy stuff. Like if you want to, like, you know, record some event, taking a snapshot of it is an easy way to do that. And I'll talk about the main menus in a second. I'll walk through that. That's kind of cool too. All right, so let me go back. Oh, the context menu. So like for the cameras, you right click and you get a whole bunch of context stuff. So this is kind of cool. Like if you're looking at a camera and then something interesting pops up and you want to like take an image of it, you can do that right away. And you see us high resolution. This is coming from Blue Iris, so and super fast. Like instead of the low resolution image, you're getting the instead of the low resolution, you're getting the high resolution, which is kind of nice. Okay, so that's context. Save image to disk. That's fine too. Again, I just did that with the snapshot, but that's the same idea. A little JPEG. I'll bring it up again, and there it is. And a one click. Where did zoom? Oh, sorry. One click pops you from all cameras to a single camera, and it also, just like in the console, it goes from low res to high res. So that's kind of cool. I'm just gonna go back. Let me go to the next thing. HLS streams. I'm not gonna talk about that. It's more for power users, so I'm just gonna leave that for the Q&A if it comes up. Copy image address. Same thing. Most users won't find any need for it. Like it gives you you can create a tab for that camera, I guess, and an image of it. So I'm not. Yeah, it's not a very popular feature. Trigger now is just like in Blue Iris console. You can trigger any camera to force an alert. You can record, start recording, and stop recording. Snapshot on Blue Iris. This is kind of getting into details, but you can choose in the menu in your settings for the UI when you take a snapshot. Do you want the high resolution one from Blue Iris, or do you want the slow one from the browser? And 99% of people want from the high resolution from Blue Iris. And so that's a default setting, but you can change that if you wanted to. Restart the camera. Stats for nerds I'm going to talk about in a second as well. And now for the property. So I thought this was a lot of stuff at first, but then I realized like there's a lot of resellers that have multiple sites, and when their customers have issues, I found out like a lot of resellers will use the web interface to like troubleshoot for their customers. And so having all this capability, it might seem like a lot, but for a lot of customers, it's actually quite valuable. So like, let me just walk through some of it. The first thing is like you can just close all of them, collapse all the topics so that easier to digest. And because I think it comes up as always opened, and it can be a little bit daunting that way. So that's one little tip that I just discovered. So general settings, just they're on and offs. for different things, like just play with it. Like if you want to turn them on or off, you can do so, like for the PTZs or push, just different capabilities there. For record, you can change the recording settings if you need to temporarily. I have wind triggered, but you have access to the other options as well. And all the stuff is one-to-one from Blue Iris. So it's basically camera settings dialogue. So from the trigger for the record, it was how you want to record. So if you understand the interface in Blue Iris, then you should understand it's very intuitive and one-to-one between that and what I'm going through right now here. So the general settings, the motion trigger. This is kind of cool. Like if you got to tweak your motion triggers and you can't get access to the machine, you can do remotely through the browsers. And again, this is a lot of this is the most popular features from the trigger tab and camera settings. Okay. Manual recording. So you can start you can do from here. It's just redundant. It's the exact same functionality. You can do a right click, really fast recording, or you can do it from the properties as well. That's fine. And you can do some remote stuff. Like you can restart the camera if it's causing problems as well. So it's a lot of flexibility, and it turns out like a lot of resellers and even like I guess homeowners, like if you have multiple homes, it's a very sufficient tool to like access your remote sites as well as maybe tweak it if you need to. Because I know like sometimes I get tickets from users that are like on vacation and they need to do this or that. Now that I've gone through this myself, I've realized like you can do a lot of the stuff with the web interface. Okay, great. So that's a live view. So again, live view is all about, what are you seeing right now and moving forward, and if you want to tweak any of that. Clips is really about, I mean, it's the same view, but like, it's all about like, what did you record? And if you need to go back and try to find an event, how do you do that? So a lot of people ask, not a lot of people, but like some people ask, like, they like the timeline view in Blue Iris, and I like it too. Don't get me wrong. I think this is like really helpful. Like, I don't know. Well, I'm sure a lot of people today didn't attend the triggers and alerts. I mean, the storage webinar when I went through this stuff, but the timeline is really cool, right? Because you can go back. I can go through all my cameras like for a single campus to a particular day, and then start pounding through like what are all the events that happened on that day. This is, where's all my data? Oh, it's way up there. Okay, there we go. So I can just pound through like, what am I doing right now? I'm doing the 5th. I can just pound through all the events that came in on the 5th for all the cameras really easily, right? And so that's what's really powerful about the timeline view. Like you can like digest a single day for an entire campus really quickly and find out the event that you're looking, like maybe like somebody had like fell or something, or some emergency happened or whatever, and you want to go back and find those details. So that's why people like the timeline view, which is great. And they ask for it in the browser, and it's similar but different. And for some of you guys, it might be better. Like I kind of like it. So if I want to like look at the same idea, like I want to look at all the events for the 5th, all I would do is I would just go to all my cameras, and I would go back to the 5th, and I have my alerts up. So that's it. So like I can go to the bottom, and then, these are like all the events. Like it's not coming up in one window, but I can live with that. Like I can just digest one at a time like this. So it's kind of like a pseudo timeline. So like I like it, and just making you guys aware of it so that when you want to do searches from your web interface, I mean, this is pretty powerful. Like you can do a lot of stuff with just this. and then jump into it. Let me just go back to my presentation because I want to make sure I don't forget anything, because this is why I like to have a presentation. Oh, I want to deep dive into the troubleshooting. So let me just, before I go back into the clips, let me talk about this because this is kind of cool. So like conceptually, what you need to keep in mind is you have these cameras, right? And then they're talking to Blue Iris, and then you have a browser, and it could be in your local area network, or it could be, you know, it could be the Blue Iris could be, you know, home one in Southern California, and then you could be in your home two in Northern California. And so there's internet access from here to here, and this internet access from here to here. Like it could be as complicated as this. And so like when you have like quality issues, how do you work through it? And so this is like a nice little cool nugget that going through this exercise with Ken, I just kind of figured out. So let me share that with you guys. So let me go back to live view. So my cameras, are they? Okay, they're not frozen. They look frozen, but it's just very quiet on the campus right now. Okay. So my cameras are dual stream. Okay. And so what you're seeing right now is low resolution, but you know, it's, I don't know, you guys might be picky, but for me, it's plenty good. Like I can kind of see what's going on the campus. And then if I want to like really dive into it, I would just click on one of them, and this is going to pop into high resolution. Okay, did it pop? I'm on 480p. Let me raise the resolution here. So now I'm going to talk about this quality part, which is super cool, I think. So I'm gonna, if you go to high, if you have a good network connection, and you're trying to figure out which resolution to use a variable VBR, because it'll kind of like try to balance the quality against your network and stuff. It does a lot of stuff behind the scenes, whereas the other stuff is more constant bit rate, and so it might, you know, cause more issues. So just one little tip up front is VBR is better than the non-VBRs. Oops. Okay, so now I went to high resolution, and I'm trying to like get this. This is a 2 megapixel camera, and you're gonna see it. It's gonna start slowing down. Like look at the seconds. See, and then you're like, oh man, like what's going on here, right? So the issue is you have to figure out like where is the issue? Is it the camera's to Blue Iris? Like if Blue Iris is slow, if the cameras are slow to Blue Iris, then you know it's not going to get any better to the browser. Or is it from Blue Iris to the browser? So like that's what I'm trying to get at right now. And how do you figure that out? So an easy test that I discovered, well, through the, you know, after talking with Ken and the developer of the application, is like you can just, if you're on your machine, if you're on your Blue Iris machine, if this is slow and you want to know if it's the browser or the server, you can just bring up the Blue Iris console and double click on it. And this is high resolution as well, right? Let me zoom out. And you can look at the quality coming into Blue Iris. Like this is telling you like how good the quality is from the cameras to Blue Iris. And so you saw skip, right? 10, 11, 12. And further confirmation is the stats. Like, you know, the reason I'm going through all this details because it'll help you guys troubleshoot much, you know, by yourselves and get you quicker to the solution. So the camera stats is all about like how the cameras are talking to Blue Iris. And so, you know, we talked about this before, but look at the frames coming from the high resolution during the day. It's like super low, like 5, 1. It goes back to 40, you know, it goes really high and really low. But look at the substream. Like the substream is like always solid, like 30 plus. And so that tells you like based off your network bandwidth and quality, like the substream is much more smooth than the mainstream. Okay. And that makes sense for me because all these cameras, like these aren't cameras at my house, right? These are cameras at a remote site. So I'm like pulling these streams from the internet. Okay. So I kind of knew that it had to do with the internet connectivity versus the connection to the browser. But that being said, now you have a concrete way of determining how good the quality of the feeds are from your cameras to Blue Iris. And so therefore, you know that this delay isn't really due to the browser connecting to the server. It's not this, but it's really this. And so you have to focus in on that internet connectivity, for example. And those are networking topics that, you know, that goes beyond the scope of my, of what I can provide. But that's one thing. So now like the other aspect and takeaway of this is the fact that, okay, so now you know you have some valuable information, and one of them is you know that your substream is pretty good quality, and your mainstream is what's choppy. And what's cool about the web interface is you can choose. So like that's why I like the streaming quality capability. So now I can pop this down to 480. It's not gonna go. It's gonna go to 480. But basically now we just told Blue Iris, give me your substream, and now look at the seconds. It's like, you know, it's super smooth, right? And so like when these like unfortunately cars not coming in, but like you can see in the background, like the cars are moving in a non-choppy manner. So that's one, and you see like the that warning symbol, like um, connectivity is no longer there. So the takeaway here is like you can leverage the substreams to provide you a pretty decent quality, quality of service if your network is choppy. So, anyways, I thought that was like a really cool capability with this that kind of made me excited, and I hope that helps you guys too. All right, so that is that. So that's basically the big nugget that I wanted you guys to know about. So keep in mind that the stats. I put all this stuff just as a reminder. Like if you ever guys go back to this webinar, um, some key things to look at. So the reason I put the stats dialog is this will tell you how well Blue Iris is doing, talking to the cameras. And then if you know this is solid, then you can start tweaking on the browser side to get the quality of service even better. So that was a mouthful. So hopefully, we'll have Q&A in a second. So please do ask if you have questions on that. Oh, and another kind of cool thing is if you know that the your Blue Iris server and the cameras are having problems communicating, another cool thing, like once you're on your Blue Iris server, is you can check, like the Windows tells you a lot of stuff. So if you go to Task Manager, it's another little takeaway I discovered from this exercise. If you go to Task Manager and then you go to Performance and you go to Open Resource Monitor, Windows will tell you how much of the network card on your PC is being used by Blue Iris. And so I think I have 100 megabits card. This is gonna, now it goes 100 megabits because it's auto scales. And Blue Iris is one of the biggest consumers of the network card, and it'll tell you how much. Like I can just select it. It'll tell you in orange. So that's something to keep in mind too. Like if you're like really into this and want to troubleshoot and find out like where the bottlenecks are, here's one other tool in your tool chest to figure that out. Like if I were to stop Blue Iris, you would see this completely drop, like the network card. Like almost all of my traffic is due to Blue Iris, obviously because I got 7 or 8 cameras and it's streaming, blah blah blah. But if I turned it off right now, you would see this thing drop in a heartbeat. So it's kind of cool. Okay, so let's go back to live view. So that's live view and debugging live view. So like if you got issues with resolutions, streaming quality is like the easiest way to provide a smooth experience. So back to clips. So I talked about this is basically your timeline in a different format. So you can filter by date, just like in Blue Iris, all the alerts, and this is your entire campus for the 5th. So that's a timeline. And then we're done with live view. Filter by camera group. Well, that's pretty simple. So, you know, if you want to just show a particular group, ADF cameras for like this campus, it's the same view because I don't have any other groups, but that's fairly intuitive. Select a camera. Oh, so you know how in Blue Iris, if I want to filter by just what's going on in this camera, like the entrance gate, I got to select it. Now it's selected, and then I got to do one. Now all of it becomes ADF7. Well, it's even easier in the web interface. Just click the camera, and it automatically filters by just that camera. And so you can go to a specific date again, and I can find out all the cars that came in on the 7th for this camera. Like super easy. And I like the interface. Like, you know, you can just like look at it. It pops up like a fast forward type of thing. And so, yeah, I was quite impressed. Okay. Go back to the clips. So I gave you the timeline. I gave you like deep dive into a particular camera. They're like the biggest things. Let me go back. Sorry. Filter by date. I just showed you that. And then, you know, there's a whole bunch of other filters in the web interface that isn't like some of them isn't even in Blue Iris, I don't think. So like you can filter like if you want to like know all the clips in your new folder, you can like versus stored. Like I don't have a stored, but I have a BI cloud, but not important what that is. But anyways, so it seems like there's even more filters in addition to the stuff that you see in Blue Iris. So you know, play with it. And the reason I brought up the folders is because I know one customer was organizing his clips by folders. Like he had new as the first 30 days, and then he had stored as the next 30 days, and then he had aux1 as the next 30 days. And so for a guy like that, with that type of, you know, recording structure, being able to filter by folder was valuable to him because he can go back to like the last 90 days versus between 30 to 60 days and stuff like that. So, you know, it's kind of, it's really cool flexibility if and when you need it. Okay, so filtering is super powerful. Exports. That's the last topic that I thought was you know, kind of important. So it's very similar to Blue Iris, and the fact that you can do it in here is like awesome. So that if somebody's remote, you can still, you know, get the clips and download, create MP4s, and, you know, send it to law enforcement, all that kind of stuff. So if I want to export this, I do right click. I would do where is it? Wait, oh, let me go to clip. This is a clip. This is a clip, and then I go export, convert export. Sorry. So you see the difference. I was in the live view, so you can't export in live view. But if you go to a recording, and then you're in this recording, I'll stop the recording, and then you can export. But before I go into that whole thing about the streams and high res and low res, that applies for the recordings as well. So like as we've confirmed, as I've just, you know, shown you like through my analysis, that the high resolution is choppy. That means if the high resolution is choppy coming in, then Blue Iris's recording is also going to be choppy. So if I were to go to high resolution and do play, it's going to pop in, I think. Let me get rid of the VBR. Where's the high resolution? Hold on. That still looks like slow resolution. It always works in the practice. Oh, here we go. Like I have no idea why that didn't pop in, but yeah, it always works in the practice, but never works in the demo. But anyways, so like you have a choice between the playback as well for your recording. Like, is it high res like this, or is it low res? So like, the problem with high res is like, here's the alert. Like, it's this car, right? And you're trying to play the high resolution, and there's no car. Like, you're like, what the heck? What's going on here? Like, it's broken. It's not broken. The high resolution is choppy, and so you completely missed the car, in fact. But if you go back to low streaming, I popped into low resolution and then start from the beginning, and there's a car. So when you have these resolutions, it's great for Blue Iris, performance, all the stuff. But if your network is crappy and your high resolution isn't storing correctly, and this may not apply to any of you guys, but like, I thought it was cool that you can just pop into low resolution, you can get the clip, and then you can export it. So now that you have it, so that's like a little troubleshooting tip. You can export it, and then just like in Blue Iris, you got the handles, like, you know, exactly where do you want to start recording and where do you want to stop recording. It's all there. And also, what I found cool is like when you play it, let's see if I play it, and say you want to stop here, you can just right click on the stop, and it goes right to that area. So you don't have to like mess with moving it and stuff. Start, stop, and then begin export, and you'll dump it into your local storage. So all the export capabilities in Blue Iris, like, it's pretty much all here in the web interface, which is awesome. Only other thing I want to share about exports is like, if you're like, this is going to be super, I'll just do it. Like, it'll be super fast because it's super short, right? And then I'll just like, it's done, finished, and then I can download it. So boom, it's downloaded, MP4 file. What I want to bring up is like, if you're gonna like export like some huge 8-hour file that you had continuous recording, you know, like, it could be like a gig of data. That's going to take some time. And so the way you would handle that is, I don't have any of that example. That's going to take too much time anyways. But if I were to go to a particular camera and then go to clips, all clips, and like, say this is like a huge file, and I wanted to export it, it might take some time. And so um, the way you know like when it's done and ready to download is on the main menu. So I just want to make that connection. Like, if your exports are going to take some time, you can continue working and doing your own thing, and then check back to find out when it's ready to download, and you just click on to download. Just FYI. Okay, so that's exports. I just talked about troubleshooting in high res and low res, also in the playback. So, you know, get familiar with the stream quality because it'll really help you. Oh, another cool tip is, if you're really good with streaming and understand the details, like, there's a lot of settings here you can change, like the quality and stuff. You know, make it super high or whatever, and then you save it. This is a 1080p VBR, right? And then you're like, well, that was kind of messed up. That's not really what I wanted. So how do I go back? The way we go back is just go 1080, go back to what you can delete them all. It doesn't really matter. Delete this profile, yes, and then restore missing defaults, and then it comes back with the defaults. So if you mess up, doesn't matter. You can always recreate the defaults by doing that. Just delete what you did and then restore, and then, you know, I like it sorted, so that's how you do that. Okay, clips list. I think I'm almost done here. Stats for nerds. Um, I'm not a big networking guy, so like, and Ken, please chime in at this part if you want to. But I just want to call out, like, I did stats for nerds at nighttime, like last night at 7:30, and look at the network delay and player delay. Like, like at nighttime, like there's less office traffic and stuff, right? So it just goes away. And during, like, I just did this like an hour before the webinar, and the player delays just starts growing, and network delays starts popping in too. And I remember like yesterday afternoon, this was like pretty busy as well. So um, these are other clues that your network is causing problems, and you can dive into the stats for nerds as well to get more clues into like what's going on with your browser versus your server versus your cameras. A lot of stuff in Blue Iris, like for the guys who like to tinker, like it's a great tool. So I talked about this and the delays and how to go about resolving it. So just a recap, frames per second is very important for like choppiness and smooth playing and visual, just visual quality. So you know, get familiar with the stats because it tells you a lot of valuable information about like where the problems and bottlenecks are, even the logs. So that's one big takeaway. Oops, my Alexa's going off. Hold on. Okay, and then the web browser stats for nerds is kind of cool. Camera streams, like get to know that. That's important. I found this to be really helpful. And network usage. So like Windows has a lot of good stuff. Like once you start getting to the task manager, and do I still have that window up? I don't, but you saw that network performance stuff. So another really good resource is the Windows um, like monitoring software, task manager stuff. All right, here's some of the things that I liked when going through this exercise, and you might like them too. So I like having the motion highlights. My cameras are quiet right now, but you can't see it. So this one is like doing the motion highlights. This one's doing the boxes. So I was showing you both. And the way you get to that and turn them on and off is camera properties, motion trigger. So camera properties. I just gave you like a little cheat sheet on how to turn these things on. Motion trigger and then highlight. So this one has objects and this one has the other one, motion, and you can have both too. So I like using the motion, so that's what I do. Other good stuff, clips, right click, enlarge thumbnails. So I like the big thumbnails. I think the default is that's the wrong. The UIs are so similar. Shrink thumbnails, like you can have it this way. I kind of like the big ones. It helps me. I like all the detail. Like it'll tell you like there's icons in here as well. I can't find them right now, but like these icons that go off that got triggered and stuff, like that's available. So I like the big thumbnails. UI settings, video player. So something to keep in mind is HTML5 versus JavaScript. So JavaScript is universal. So I don't know an exact use case for like when you would switch, but apparently in UI settings, sometimes HTML5 isn't supporting your browser. I find that hard to imagine now, but it is still possible. And in that scenario, for your player, you might have to switch from HTML5 to JavaScript. Just something to keep in mind. Oops. Clips and alerts. So I turned them all on. I liked all the clips. I liked all of them, so I just turned them all on. But it's up to you. But in UI settings, clips and alerts, like I turned them all on. Like and these are like all the controls. So like if I'm if I'm looking at a clip, I like all these buttons. Like if I want to go up 10 or minus 10 or go frame by frame, you know, boom, 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 boom. Like it's all there. So I'm like, if it's all there, might as well have access to them. So that was my perspective. And this is how you change the playback speed, similar to Blue Iris. So all the functionality is there. So take advantage of it. That's what I say. UI settings, clips, alert icons. I kind of like my cameras are, I'm gonna live view. Yeah, my cameras are quiet right now, but like there's icons that pop up. Like if you're looking at these cameras, like you'll fall asleep if you're just looking at the cameras. So like having the pop-ups, like when a camera was triggered and stuff like that, I have them turned on for the specific camera that triggered, as well as on the right, a holistic one. You know, oh, there you go. Here you go. So like I like the stuff. So I have them turned on. And the way you turn that on is UI settings, clips, alerts icon. UI settings, and then clips look. So I turn them all on. Event triggered icon, same thing. Like one of these, the one in the window is one bucket of icons. The other one on the right is another bucket. I can't remember which one's which, but it's the same thing. Like event triggered icons and clip alert icons. I turn them both on, like, you know, if you like that. And camera labels, like I like having the labels on the cameras. It was driving me nuts. Like the default, I think, is no labels. And so it's, of all the stuff, like that was like one of the most important things for me. And so that's in camera labels. And I turn it on. Like if it's off, yeah, I thought that was real. I thought having the header was really important to me. So if you're wondering how to do that, that's how you do it. Turn that on and boom. So you have the camera labels. And yeah. So web UI in, wow, I went 45 minutes on this. I thought it was faster. All right. So we can open up to questions. That's all I had. Ken, if you have anything more to say, you know, please do so before I open it up. And oh, we have to talk about the updates, right? So you want to talk about that, or you want me to go ahead?
Yeah, well, we have a few people here. I've also posted it on the website. The version 5.3.7.12 had a problem downloading, so it makes it kind of difficult to update from that version. You will have to update manually to 5.3.7.13. So that's actually the version that's posted on the website, so you can update directly from the website that way.
Okay. Okay, and just to close it out, like all the stuff is being recorded, including today, and we will post it later today on Blue Wire support. Blue Wire support, the forum. You know, we don't talk about the forum enough, but like, you know, there's a lot of smart people in this world, and leveraging the forum for advice is also a really good thing to do because they're very helpful. Okay, that's it. All right, we can open up to questions. Okay, where's the Q&A? Q&A. Okay, Ken, you're handling that. Where's the Okay, if you want me to here we go, attendees. I'll raise your hand and I'll unmute you so that you can ask your question if you have one. And this could be beyond the web server. Like if you're having problems this week, you know, Ken's here to so we can probably answer that. I don't see any. Oh, here we go. Hands up. Okay, here we go. Tell Gates allowed to talk. Go ahead. You're unmuted. You're still muted right now. Okay. Well, Tell is. Oh, there you go, Tell. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, it looks like your mic is not working. You're unmuted, but your mic is not. speaking. While you figure that out, I'm going to let Gary speak. All right, Gary, go ahead. You're muted right now, Gary.
Okay, I've got a Blue Iris set up at my home in a different state, and I've got VPN on the computer. How do you set that up with the VPN address versus the actual IP address?
Okay, well, if this is for me, I'm not really qualified to answer a question about VPN. Something I've never used. The way a VPN works is it appears to be a local address, but it is rerouted securely to a remote address. So as long as the networking components are plugged in a way that it can resolve back to your PC, it really doesn't matter what you're using. I mean, you could use any address that it eventually is routed to your PC. So it's really about routing, and the VPN kind of adds another layer of that. It's something that we'd like to cover in one of our advanced webinars at some point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Gary. Tell you're unmuted. If you want to speak, you can. If you're still figuring out your mic, that's fine too. Timothy, allowed to talk. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a question. Is there any way to remotely see continuous streams? So I see all the clips here, but a lot of times if there was a clip and it got cut off, I want to go back and, you know, watch the entire stream. So I usually have one stream that's, you know, capturing these alerts, and then I have another screen that's just capturing continuously. And today I just had to fall back to my camera's interface. They're Hikvision cameras or Hikvision cameras. So I go back and use that interface, but I'm wondering if there's ever going to be a way to do that, or if I'm missing something.
I'll show you what I mean. Yeah, so you can totally play back clips. Like clips are basically folders. I mean, files.
Not clips, the continuous stream.
Right, like, but it's from the past, right? Recorded continuous stream, right?
Yes.
Right. So, I mean, that's basically a file in Blue Iris. So, like from the, I'll show you both. So like from the web interface, like you can go back. Here's all the clips, right? So a clip is a file. So
I believe his question, Sam, he's asking about continuous recording. Continuous recording is not a default in Blue Iris. It only records when there's action occurring, but you can definitely switch that to continuous recording. That way you do have a record of absolutely everything, if that's your goal.
Yeah, but is there any way to do it from the web interface or from the iOS interface to reach those files?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Sam will show you how to do that right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I went back to the new folder, and here's ADF7's recordings. Here's ADF cameras recordings. Here's ADF2. So like I'm not doing continuous. I'm just doing on trigger. But if you click on it, like it's playing back the file from beginning to current time.
Okay.
Okay, and so that's exactly what you would do. And so if you want to go back to like a particular day, like say you want to play back the recordings from the 5th for ADFs, like let's just pick a camera, ADF7. So it filters by ADF7. These are all ADF7. I'm doing all the clips, all the recordings on just the 5th. I just want to do the 5th, okay? So you see what I'm doing? I selected the camera. I went back to the 5th, and these are all the recordings. These are all files, okay? And
okay.
So, and then you can just play them. Like this is at 7 a.m. on the 5th, and it's going through the entire, like, I don't know how long this file was running for, but however long it was. And then this is the next one, and it's starting from the beginning and playing through.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's just a file then. All right. I'll play around with it. Thank you.
Yeah. Gary, I think we answered Gary's question. tell your mic is, I'm not sure if your mic is back, but you can ask if you want. Kevin P, allowed to talk. Oops, did I?
Hey guys, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hey, thanks for hosting this. This is my first one. I worked with Blue Iris, the original, years ago, and a lot of bugs in it and everything. Looks like they've streamlined a lot. I'm going to get back into it and all. A couple of real quick questions, and these should be really short answers and all. I'm a VMware subject matter expert. Is this software, is this something you can run on a virtual machine?
The short answer is yes, and other customers have done so.
Okay. And are you aware of any special tweaking or anything that maybe there's a cheat sheet or a white paper out there that might say these are the kind of special things you need to do, or is it just put it on there and she should run?
I'm not, maybe Ken, if you have insights on this, like you can share it, but I don't have that details right now. However, we're trying to have a case study. I'm not sure if it's gonna be next Friday or coming soon regarding just this topic. Like we have a customer that has, he's using Hyper-V, not VMware.
Right.
But that being said, he's got 2 VMs running, and each one's got like 64 cameras. Like he's really
Pushing the limits.
pushing the limits, right? And so we're gonna have that talk either next Friday or sometime soon, and he's excited to share his knowledge as well. So we'll have more insights. But
Gotcha. Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, if he's running Hyper-V, we'll try not to hold that against him. Okay. And then this is the first Friday thing that I've been on, and I've missed a bunch of them because of work. I heard as soon as I jumped on late that this recording would be available. Is this recording going to be available along with all the other ones that you've done up to this point? So maybe I can get caught up.
Yeah, 100%. So just go to our YouTube channel.
Yep.
And then just search for Blue Iris support, and it should be the first one that comes up.
Okay. And then last question, I promise. When I worked years ago, it was Blue Iris, and now your website is Blue Iris Software. Is there a difference?
Sorry, repeat that question. I was looking at the Q&A.
No worries, no worries. So once upon a time, years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, I worked with Blue Iris back kind of when it was more of in its infancy. And I got some kind of an ad or something saying, hey, you can buy it from Blue Iris, or you can buy it from this other company, and you're buying like a yearly subscription. And it seemed like 2 different companies using the same software. And I got a little confused. Are you aware of that?
There are a couple relabels, and one of them is Amcrest. So they do have a version of Amcrest software that basically I produce for them. It's Blue Iris, but it's not kept up to date as much as Blue Iris is. So I would definitely recommend sticking with Blue Iris.
Okay, but you guys are root. You guys are core. Y'all are the actual engineers, right?
That's right. Yes.
All right. Hey, I'll get off and let somebody else answer questions. Thanks so much, guys. Sure appreciate it. We'll be working with you soon.
Sounds great. Thank you very much. I think that was Kevin.
Yep, that was Kevin.
Okay. Let's see who's next. Paul, allowed to talk. Go ahead, Paul. What? Allowed to talk is not available because Paul Henry's using an older version of Zoom. Choose promote to panelist to allow Paul to talk. Okay, that's fine, I guess. All right, go ahead, Paul. Okay, I think we lost. If you're there, Paul, you can chime in.
How now? How about now?
Oh, there you are. Yep.
Yeah, maybe simply a question, but I was following along with my own Blue Iris. And some of the odd thing that pops up is when I ask for something through the web interface, it says you must have administrator privileges to use this option. And it wants you to log on. And I literally put in my Blue Iris admin credentials and, name and password. And when I do that, instead of showing anything different, it just pops up and says that you've joined as an anonymous user with limited privileges.
Now, is this from the are we talking about the web interface or are we talking about the console right now?
I'm talking about the web interface. For example, if I go down and ask for, let's see, we'll go with system log in this quick example. As soon as I click on system log, it wants to know a user ID and a password.
Okay, so
yeah, several of those features are restricted to administrators. So what you want to do is go onto your Blue Iris PC software, the settings users page, and make sure you have one of those remote access users set up as admin.
Yeah, that's my point is that I'm using my admin username and my admin password. The very one I used to log in.
What you said about it, something about anonymous. It must be having trouble authenticating that user. It must be having trouble authenticating you as that administrator user, so it's falling back to anonymous. Anonymous is possible if you've enabled that on the settings web server advanced page. It's not possible by default, but it's back in the PC software again to whether or not to allow anonymous.
Well, possibly you could bring that up then, because it's like I say, when you click user, I have one set up and mine says exactly what you see there, admin. So where is it supposed to be?
Advanced box. This is where the authentication is controlled. By default, it's all connections and use secure login, and there's nothing in the limit access box. So with that, with these settings like Sam has here, you do need a valid user and password. You will not be able to log in anonymously no matter what. So I would review this page first. And then for the user, just verify the upper and lower case of the user is correct, that you're typing, because it is case sensitive. And you'll get a better error other than the anonymous message once you disable the anonymous.
Where are you saying that? I'm not seeing, where is that? Eliminate anonymous.
That Sam is currently showing. It's under settings, web server advanced.
Okay. I'll be glad to try that and see if that changes. But you know, once again, I'm using the valid admin user ID and valid password, case sensitive and all.
Yeah, it might be worth just setting up a temporary one, just like the letter A and the letter A, lowercase, just to make sure, you know, you can get past that point is what we're seeing. Then we could address, you know, maybe that user is limited in some other way by time. There's all sorts of limitations that could be variables that could be limiting access. So it might be worth setting a user temporarily.
Thank you. I'll look into it a little further, and if there's an issue, I guess I can submit.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay, so that was. Oh, Tell, are you back?
Am I on now?
Oh, there you are. Yeah. Okay.
I switched to the phone. The old technology seems to work better. For the gentleman that was just dealing with it, I was having the same sort of issue coming in from the iOS app. And in the new version of iOS, they have a setting for private network. And what was happening is on my home LAN, it kept changing the MAC address and moving around the IP address on me randomly. And so that was, I was getting to where I could only go through and log in as anonymous until I went through and corrected the situation, getting rid of the private address for my own local LAN. And then the question I was asking earlier, Ken's already addressed it for you're going to have a later S-Tunnel webinar to go through and discuss the details of that. So it's that's my two questions for the day.
Okay. So one's just a request. You want a S-Tunnel webinar? Okay. Yeah,
and Ken said it was in the, basically with the Q&A and then the written one, he said there will be one coming down the pike.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely on the list of things to do for sure. Okay, thanks, Tel. Heath, allowed to talk.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Have you had any interest or users ask for the UI3 web interface to be able to display cameras from 2 Blue Iris servers at once or more? So like if you run out of capacity on your main server and let's say you've got say 20 cameras on it and it's kind of maxed out because it's an older, Core i5 processor, and you build another machine and you put your other 20 cameras on that. Well, then from the UI3, from Chrome, you can only access one at a time.
Right. And that's part of me is like saying like what's wrong with that? Like, why not just have 2 tabs?
Well, I guess that would be the thing. So from a surveillance, security operator running this from a laptop, and he's got like, we're going to run out of capacity basically, and we're going to end up with like 25 cameras on all interior cameras and about 20 something cameras that are all exterior, and we're going to overload the server. So we got to just move it over, have a second one. But at that point, I can't look at an inside camera with an outside camera in the same view. And I've got to have 2 tabs to log into 2 separate servers at once. And I know this starts diverging beyond what Blue Iris was designed to do and kind of gets more into the commercial products like Exact Vision and Milestone, where however many servers you got in the back is completely independent of the client view.
Right. I'll give you a couple tips. Well, one of them is that, with version 5, I started this concept of remote management, and that is specifically to do what you're saying, which is to combine multiple systems into one, basically. Currently, it can connect to them all at the same time, but it's only viewing one of them at a time.
Right. Yeah, that's what we saw.
Yeah. So that I do plan to expand that. But here's a trick that many customers use with large installations is they add a window to one Blue Iris they call a central system that contains it's a camera window, but it contains the all camera view from another Blue Iris system. So in one little window on Blue Iris, you can have all cameras from another system. So potentially you could have 64 squared cameras showing that way if you really expand it out. But the limitation is it's just for viewing. I mean, you won't be able to click on any of those cameras individually and go into,
right.
You just get all of the cameras on the screen. It'll be, you can of course zoom into just that one set of cameras and do this like Sam is showing now, an all cameras view from each separate system, but that's as far as you can go. You can't go into their individual clips and all that stuff.
Okay, so our workaround now is to use 2 monitors and put server 1 on the left monitor, server 2 on the left monitor, with 2 Chrome instances running. And do it.
That's the third way, and that's a great way to do it as well. For now, until it's more integrated.
It's either that or we gotta up the server to be able to have all 40 cameras on it, to be able to support the 40 cameras, at the same time on one box, and then we could go back to that.
Yeah, if you take advantage of the new dual streaming capability, I mean, that should really be not as big of a problem as it used to be, because it's not going to be decoding all those 40 cameras, even if they're 8 megapixel. It'll just store all that to disk, and then you can come back later and review video one at a time. You would use the substream for the live view.
Okay. Yeah, we always wanted the recorded clips to be full resolution, so they're 2 and 4 megapixels, so not real high.
We're going to have a demonstration. Sam alluded to it. It might be next Friday, of a system running on a virtual machine with 60 plus cameras, high megapixel, and it's humming along like a 10% CPU or something. It's amazing what can be done. It does take a little bit of planning and management of the resource, basically.
Yeah, I've tried to use the Intel hardware decoding, the QuickSync, and I've had issues with as soon as there's motion, something interesting to record, and the clip starts recording, say like a car moving in a parking lot, you start seeing this rainbow artifacts and tearing until the next full iframe comes through. And you disable the hardware decoding and go back to just CPU decoding, and it's flawless. So at the expense of CPU, I've given up on the QuickSync.
That could indicate some incompatibility with the encoding and decoding, obviously. If you've gone through the exercise of trying to update the Intel drivers, the next thing
we've done that.
to look at the camera encoding and make sure that's as simple as possible for it. You know, make sure it's mainstream, H.264, no plus smart modes, that sort of thing. Just make it real easy for the decoder and see where you are at that point.
Yeah, we've done that, and even the recorded clip has what we see there, so we know it's not like an issue with the playback. It's definitely what Intel did to the stream. Something got corrupted somewhere in the intermediate frames, and it didn't fix it until it got a full frame again. So yeah, I don't know. I've got another system that it seems to work fine. I've never seen this artifact tearing. Of course, it's a different machine, so I can just attribute it to that.
Yeah, at some point, if you want to send us some examples of that, we could take a look at it through the support email.
Okay. Yeah, other than that, seems to work great. We've done even external triggering of a camera from a PIR motion detector from an alarm system. So no direct contact other than a little .NET program I wrote that gets the motion detection info from the alarm, turns around and sends a trigger command to Blue Iris to say, hey, record this guy. So that works great on cameras that have no digital inputs to use as a trigger.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
All right, that's all the questions I had. Thank you.
Thanks, Heath. I'm not sure if there's more questions from the people that I already had set to untalk, but if there is, please chime in. And if not, I will unmute some other folks.
Hey, can you hear me? It's Kevin.
Yes. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, sorry, I lied. One more question. I've got a standard analog DVR from a company called EasyViz that already has some cameras hooked up. They're just standard analog cameras. Do you have a capability where I can take Blue Iris and say connect to that guy and it pulls the video feeds? The reason I'm asking, I've also got some IP cameras I want to add, and I want to have a one pane of glass where I can see everything through one pane of glass. Is that an option?
I mean, I've done it. We've had Hikvision analog cameras go to an NVR, and then we connected Blue Iris to the NVR to get the streams to put it on one pane of glass. Is that what you mean? Like,
well, all right. So yes, that's an NVR. What I've got is a DVR. So it's, an NVR is going to be a network where it uses Cat5, IP cameras, that kind of stuff. This is an NVR, a DVR, where it's just analog cameras that go into it. I've got a monitor hooked up to it, and there's a web page I can get to on it. But what I'm wondering is, can I pull those feeds from that into Blue Iris so I can see those cameras as well?
Would you consider upgrading your cameras?
No,
the reason I'm asking is Dualcomm is a company that has a PoE, Cat5 to RG6 to Cat5 adapter that might actually address your needs there. I'm using that with a Doorbird.
Okay, yeah, maybe I'm not explaining it properly. Maybe let me just catch you guys offline sometime. I'll see if I can maybe give you a call or something, or we set up an individual Zoom and I can kind of explain what I'm talking about, and see if we can kind of get a real detailed question so that we get you guys know exactly what I'm asking about.
Was that to me or to the respondent?
Okay, this is Tel. I responded because he sounds like he's dealing with something I've dealt with already. And
Okay.
if he has analog cameras, they may be relatively old. If he wants to update those cameras with, now IP cameras, there's a fairly easy way to do that.
Oh yeah, no, I see what you're saying now. No, it's one of these all-in-one kits, kind of like Night Owl and some other companies. It's a little DVR box that sits over on the desk, has all the jacks in the back, the RCA jacks, goes out to the cameras, has a little power cord to them and everything. They're all analog cameras and all. And then that little box plugs into a monitor with DVI, and then it has a network cable. And I have their app that I can pull up live video feed on my phone. The problem is if I move to Blue Iris and add IP cameras, now, kind of like that other earlier, I'm going to have two different apps, two different things. I'm going to have to look at my cameras. I'm hoping that I can pipe the video feed from that NVR into Blue Iris, and then it gives me a one pane of glass. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Blue Iris is designed to bring all of your cameras from disparate manufacturers all into one interface. That's one of its major features.
Yep.
The deal with NVRs and DVRs is not all of them have an output capability in a format that Blue Iris can understand.
Understood.
Right. So
okay. So then my final question would be, do you have a list of all of the systems you guys know are compatible, so I can go in there and go easy this, yes or no? And that tells me if I need to get rid of that system, upgrade it, or whatever.
Yeah.
So really what you're looking for if you're in the market for a new DVR, NVR would be to look for RTSP. That's really the easiest way to move forward. If you see OnVIF, that will also be helpful, but RTSP is really the protocol you need. There are exceptions. I've reverse engineered many DVRs to get them working in Blue Iris, but to be honest, it's just easier to buy something that has an open format to it. Understood.
Well, that drop down he just did, I saw EasyViz in there. So that answers my question. I'm going to get this downloaded, get it installed, and start playing around with it. And so maybe my questions will become a little more intelligent.
Yeah, 100%. Like this is the exhaustive list of what's been done in the past. So
gotcha. Okay. All right, that helps. Thanks again, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks, Heath. Oh, that's not Heath. That's I forgot. That's Kevin. Or
Kevin.
Okay. All right. I'll open up the forum for more folks. John, allowed to talk. John Egan, allowed to talk. You're still muted, John. Okay, and then while John figures that out, Timothy.
Hey, can you hear me? Hey, this is John Egan. Good morning, Sam, Ken, and everybody on the webinar today. Good afternoon. I'm a new user. I just started into this. I've been doing networking quite a while at home, but I just started with the IP cameras during the holiday break in December and purchased Blue Iris and the app for the iPhone. And I could not be more pleased nor impressed. It's an incredible it's an incredible system. So thank you all for that. My question is related to motion sensing. And I have reviewed the webinar on that and done Google searches on that. If I could take just 30 seconds and explain what I want to do, maybe somebody can say, hey, this is the answer. Is that okay?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool, thanks. So I have a camera in my workshop, looking at my workshop, and I want to know I want an alert to my phone when somebody goes into the workshop other than myself. But when I go into the workshop for 1 minute or an hour or 8 hours, I don't want any alerts.
I'm sorry.
And I've tried using geofencing for that, but I don't believe it's sensitive enough.
So wait, you want to distinguish between you and another person that comes in, and based off of that, determine send an alert or don't send an alert?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah. Impossible.
Yeah, that's
actually, well, Sam, sorry to cut you off, but we are looking at adding some more AI to Blue Iris, and I have some exciting news eventually to come in the next month.
Okay.
To that extent, and facial recognition is definitely on the list of things that they can do. So,
well, as I mentioned, the geofencing doesn't seem to be sensitive enough, because I could always have my phone with me when I was in the workshop, but that doesn't seem to work well. And I can, of course, you know, pause it or disable when I'm in the workshop, which is what I've been doing.
Yeah, you can make use of what some people do now. You see in the app, there's a way to temporarily pause alerts on a particular camera. That might work for you.
Yeah, and then I just have to remember to turn them on or let it time out, right? I can set the timeout.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I didn't think there was an easy solution, but it's a real use case. Because if I'm in there, I don't want to know anything. If anybody else is in there, by golly, I want to know it. So thank you guys. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
There would be a possibility of having a smart camera that could do the facial recognition.
Oh. And then when I go out there, I just stare at the camera for a minute so it can tell it's me.
Or have it set up when you go in and it stares at you. Well, now, I'm not sure if it would work, but that would be a pathway I would consider based on your question.
Yeah. So basically facial recognition, it's got to know it's me, and geofencing doesn't work. There's no other way for the system to know it's me versus somebody else. Facial rec. Got it. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Again, an incredible system. Just so easy to set up and use for, you know, just remarkable and robust.
Thanks, John. Okay, let's see. Still more hands. Timothy? I thought we did Timothy, but okay, allowed to talk. I'm a different Timothy. Okay.
Hi, this is Tim. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Actually, it's a comment leading into a question. The person that was talking about reviewing a continuous recording in the console, when you set up the camera, one of the options you have is how many, in other words, it's not all one file. It actually chops the file up so that you have it either by how many hours or how many gigs of the file is. So you can always go back and review one of those files that together would be continuous. But, well, not there, but if you go to an individual camera and then go to the record tab.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah.
So if you go there, go to the record tab, you'll see that down third box down on the left where it says combine or cut video, etc. That's where you can actually set it up, where you can set how many hours, and this is where my question comes in. It says 8 hours or so many hours, so many minutes, so many gigabytes. Which does it hit for? Is it a case of if it hits one or the other, or does one override the other? If I record 8 hours and I'm only at 1.5 gigs, that'll create a new file, correct?
It's whichever happens first. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. That was my question. That's all I have. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Yeah. So there's, I mean, just FYI, there's like a storage and recordings webinar that we've done that goes into the details, but just for like a quick summary, like, yeah, so this determines for each camera, like what do you, how much of that video you want to save. So like this is saying 8 hours or 2 gigs. And so this tells you how big that file is going to be. So like every 8 hours, a new file will be created regardless of the size of the recording. And then that's what you do on the camera side of things. But now the question is like, where do you store that stuff? So then you go to clips and archiving, and these are the folders where it's storing it. So new is always the first one. And then I'm not going to go through all the details, like that webinar on storage, we'll talk about it, but this is telling Blue Iris, like once you create these files from all these different cameras, where do you store all that stuff? So I'm telling it to store in Blue Iris new. And so if I go to my Windows Explorer and I go to Blue Iris new, that's where all the files are being stored. So these are, you can tell by the names that for every camera, I pretty much have the same settings. So every 8 hours, a new file will be created. So for each camera, I will have 3 files because it's 24 hours in a day, regardless. And then if I'm recording a lot of stuff and hits that 2 gig limit first, then it'll then create a file as well. So it'll create at least 3 files per camera per day, if not more, depending on how much I'm recording, like what the limit for the size of the file is. So those are kind of like important concepts. And so the previous question about like how do I play like an entire like whatever 8-hour file, and that's all behind, like these are the files that are stored in Windows, but it's all, the UI is very intuitive and just hides all those details. And so like once you want to like look at like what happened like the first 8 hours of today, for example, you can just select the camera, and I've already selected it. So I'm filtering by the camera ADS7, and I'm going to right now it's on all the alerts. If I go to the clips, these are all the files that were created for this date. And since I don't think I have any dates specified, so it's today. So these are all the files that this camera created for today. And just clicking on it lets you play it. So like all you have to think about as a user is what date and which camera do you want to play? And that's it. And finding the right file in Windows and stuff is all buried behind the scenes. But that kind of like gives you the nuts and bolts of like what the settings do. And then after you have those settings, getting access to your recordings in a very intuitive way. Okay, that's enough of a review. Let's go to the questions. So Lays, L-A-Y-S-S, allowed to speak.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. So I got Blue Iris before lockdown, before coronavirus and stuff. And I have a couple of questions. I have 3 questions. So I have my cameras. I have 5 cameras that are recording motion. They're only recording motion. And then I created the same set of cameras to record the whole time, 24/7. Is there a better way to do that, or is this the only way?
You have 5 cameras recording motion, and then you have recording every time, like 24/7, you said?
So yeah, so I have 5 cameras, they're recording motion, and then I created inside Blue Iris the same 5 cameras, I duplicated them, recording continuously.
Oh no, you don't have to do. Yeah, you don't have to do that. You can just go to record and then do continuous. So this will tell it to record all the time for every camera. Mm-hmm. And then if you have motion, if you want to do like alerts based off of motion, you can just turn this on and then set up your motion, blah blah blah. There's a webinar on that as well. And then it'll all be the alerts, like all the alerts that you see, it'll be stored within that. It's stored in the database, and it'll give you access to it from the file. So like the way you're doing it, I think you're you're doubling the data on your hard drive, and you don't have to do that. Blue Iris could just leverage the one recording that's continuous and then give you access to the different alerts that you set up in your motion triggers. Does that make sense?
It does, but I have it that, for example, continuous, it records a clip every 20 minutes instead of, for example, every 8 hours. So every 20 minutes, I have a continuous recording.
Okay, I mean, that's fine. I mean, you can choose how long those, like that's a user's preference, so that there's nothing wrong with that. But you don't have to duplicate cameras, and then once you duplicate cameras, you're not really doubling it, because I think what are you doing for the second one when triggered?
For the second one when triggered, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not, you're adding more storage that's unnecessary, because if you just do continuous and you have motion alerts, it'll be pointers into that same file. that you're recording on. So you're not creating a separate file for alerts and a separate file for the continuous. It's all in just one file.
I have, for example, a folder for only for motions, for example. So whenever someone moves, I can see that folder in motions. So of seeing it in continuous recording.
So yeah, like if you like that capability, then keep what you're doing. But all I'm saying is like,
but there's no damage to it, right?
No, there's no damage. It's just more storage, and if you're fine with that, then you're fine with that. That's okay.
Okay. So my second question was the pan and tilt capability. I see that you have the 2 PTZs. How do you set it up exactly? Like if, for example, someone's moving behind the PTZ, how's it going to see him moving?
So these PTZs.
In this camera, for example, if someone's moving behind it, how is the camera going to see it?
I mean, now you're talking about like how to set up these cameras. So I didn't set these up, but like this one, for example, it's got patrol capabilities, and so it's going left down the driveway, and then after some time, it's gonna rotate right and go up the driveway. And then the camera itself.
It's really more for continuous recording, right?
It's for continuous recording. I mean, it can be like, there's some thought process associated with what you want the camera to do. And so this user, he wanted coverage on the back of the building. And so he put a patrol for that PTZ. And then in Blue Iris, we have like additional motion settings to like capture like when a car moves as well versus a person moves and stuff like that, and then reduce the noise associated with the alerts. I mean, that's what I did, but that's very specific to this, you know, the capabilities of the camera and leveraging that with Blue Iris.
Okay, so I play around with that. I have another question with the UI. It's on the phone, on the iPhone and on the browser, same problem. You press on the iPhone, you see this alert icon in the bottom with a flash with alerts. It always shows me that I have alerts and it's correct, but it doesn't, there's no log, there's no written message of that alert.
All right, say that one more time. I didn't quite get it.
There's on the iPhone, there's this flash sign that says with alerts on it when you click on it. And it's the same in the UI too. It's the red flash, right? It's a red bolt that shows the alerts.
Yeah. All right, maybe we should take this one offline. This is a little bit more, more detailed. Can you just send us a ticket, an email, and then we can just work through it with, you know, starting with that.
Okay. Do you offer like a team viewer, Zoom kind of stuff, or?
We do, on occasion, we do use TeamViewer if we just can't get to the solution via email. So yes, we do have that option.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, starting 9:30. All right. Any last questions? Okay, we have a couple. Okay, Edelson. Go ahead, Edelson.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Hi.
Well, that one should be easy for you. I'm trying to upgrade the software to the .13. I have the .12 version. I went online and downloaded the new version, and the new version is also .12. So where do I go to get the .13 version?
That's the current version that's online. If you see .12 on the website, maybe I didn't publish that correctly. Let's go take a look. Check it real time for you. So go to support and updates, and that should have the current version. And it's 13, it's there.
I clicked on the download link, so maybe that's why. If you click on the download link, it's going to download the .12.
I'll double check that afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Edelson. Okay, Brad, last question for the day. Go ahead, Brad.
You there? Good morning.
Yep, there you are.
Good morning. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yep, yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you, Brad. Can you hear us?
Hello? Can you hear me? Nobody can hear
me. We can hear you. You can't hear us.
How was your webinar? I'm still on it trying to ask a question. Oh.
Let's see. Oh, panelists attendees. We can hear you, Brad. We can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Are you unmuted?
Yeah, I think.
Can you type the question in chat?
I think I'm done. Here's the last question he was asking for me.
We can hear you. Okay. How can he hear the webinar if he can't hear us? That's weird.
All right, to the other 113 people left who can hear us. Thanks everybody for attending, and we look forward to doing more of these.
Was it helpful?
This is great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks guys. Have a good day.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.